My name is Jenna Mize. I'm a student at Coastal Carolina University in Conway, South Carolina, and I am doing my research on art and college students. First, I want to start out with some background information. Kurt Goldstein was a medical doctor, and he wrote an article in 1942 discussing how colors affect us biologically. He mentions how bulls involved in bullfighting rings appear to be excited by the color red, which is the color of the fabric that the matadors use. He then explains how a woman wearing a red dress may become dizzy and lose her balance, somehow due to the color of her dress. In 2011, Boothby and Robbins conducted a study examining emotion and the production of art. They found that listening to music increased participants' positive mood. However, they also found that listening to music did not seem to have an effect on the production of art. In 2007, Barbier, Vidal, and Zellner conducted a study in which participants chose paint chips that they felt best went with the songs that were played. This study showed some consistencies between happy songs and happy colors, like yellow and red. The study also found that emotion played a major role in the connection between songs and colors. My hypothesis was that the happy music group would paint with warmer colors, including red, orange, and yellow, and would paint concrete pictures. I also hypothesized that the sad music group would paint with cooler colors, including blue, purple, and green, and would paint more abstract pictures. In addition, I expected the control group to be spread evenly regarding color usage and content of the painting. Right, for my methods, I had 25 women and 4 men participate in my study. About 62% were Caucasian, a little over 20% were African American, about 10% Hispanic, and almost 7% identified themselves as other. My materials included paint supplies, music on flash drives, and the PANAS and demographic surveys. For my procedures, I had the happy, sad, or no music playing, or not, before the participant entered the room. I instructed the participant to fill out the consent forms while I left the room briefly. After I returned, I had the participant fill out their first PANAS survey. The participants were then instructed to paint anything they wanted for 10 minutes, only using 3 out of the 6 colors provided. After the 10 minutes were up, I collected the painting and participants completed the second PANAS survey as well as some demographic information. The participants were then debriefed and then the study concluded. And this picture here on the right is of the room and the setup that the participants saw when they entered the room for my study. For my results for my study, a one-way ANOVA was conducted comparing the happy, sad, and no music groups, examining color usage, concrete or abstract content, and the PANAS surveys. Unfortunately, my study yielded no significant findings. These paintings here on the right are actual paintings created by participants in my study. The top 2 paintings are concrete, and the bottom 2 paintings are abstract. The mermaid and the 2 abstract paintings are considered happy based on color usage, and the boat is sad based on color usage. Okay, this figure shows all 3 groups and where they stood at time 1 and 2, broken down by positive and negative affect. Overall, the positive affect was much higher for all 3 groups compared to the negative affect. Here we see that the second and fourth columns are the negative affect at time 1 and 2, and the first and third columns are the positive affect at time 1 and 2. And then the yellow group is the happy group, the orange is the sad group, and the pink is the control group. This slide shows the positive and negative affect differences. The yellow bars are the positive affect differences. The orange bars are the negative affect differences, and the pair on the left is the happy music group, the pair in the middle is the sad music group, and the pair on the right is the control group. This figure shows the same information as in the previous figure, but this one shows the differences a little more clearly. For example, the happy music group's positive affect increased between time 1 and 2, and their negative affect decreased between time 1 and 2. And the sad music group, their positive and negative affect increased between time 1 and 2. And then in the control group, the positive and the negative affect decreased between time 1 and 2. This figure shows the concrete and abstract content that the participants painted. Concrete paintings were coded with a 0, and abstract paintings were coded with a 1. In this case, both the happy and sad music groups tended to paint concrete pictures, while the control group painted more abstract pictures. And we can see this in this figure because the happy and sad music groups' proportions are lower or closer to 0, so their tendency to paint concrete paintings, which are coded with a 0, was higher, while the control group's proportion was higher or closer to 1, meaning their tendency to paint abstract paintings was higher. This figure shows the colors used by each group. In this case, cooler colors were coded with a 0, and warmer colors were coded with a 1. The happy music group, here on the left, tended to paint with warmer colors. The sad music group, here in the middle, tended to paint with warm and cool colors about equally, and the control group, here on the right, fell between the happy and sad music groups. Now for the discussion. My hypothesis was not supported. However, there were some trends present regarding the happy music group and the tendency to paint with warmer colors. Some limitations include the small sample size of only 29 participants and that the sample was mostly female. Another limitation includes instructions that were not given as to whether mixing paint colors was allowed. This picture on the right here is an example of that. Brown was not one of the 6 colors to be used, but because I'm assuming that maybe orange and green were mixed to make this color, that we ended up deciding to just count it because technically the rules were still followed. A third limitation is that the abstract and concrete part of my hypothesis was not pulled from the literature, so there was not a background for why I chose that. I just decided to use that. Some implications. We listen to music daily, and the type of music we listen to may have an impact on our mood. And some professions that may benefit from research like this are art therapy and music therapy. And for future work, we could use a different song selection. The songs I used include Adagio for Strings, Ace's Death, Morning Mood, and Pictures at an Exhibition. In other future work, we could also use different art mediums, maybe use a larger paint selection. I would like to thank Dr. Pettyjohn, who was my mentor for this project, Dr. Terranova, Miss Jackie Moore, all my classmates, and all my participants who were all from Coastal Carolina University. I really appreciate having this experience, and I appreciate all of your help throughout this research project. This is just the output from SPSS showing the one-way ANOVAs that we did for my research. So just showing where we got the F values and the significance levels for my data.